All right, guys, my name's Steve Sample, and I work for Barrett County. We're seeing the public safety communications for the entire county. So what that means is anything that is basically a physical element that is not a person, I oversee and make sure the guys are communicating, whether that's law enforcement, fire, public works, whatever, all of that stuff. What we've been asked to do is come out here and give you some training on your new radios. I'm going to take it back to the very beginning. We're going to do a little radio one-on-one to start off with. I've got a little presentation here that I use. I teach the DPS guys, specifically the aircraft group, their communications. Each year they're in service, get invited to do that. So it's pretty relevant to everything that's going on here, and I'm going to walk y'all through that. I will tell you, this goes a whole lot better for you and me both if there's some interaction here. Because I can promise you, there's going to be guys with questions, and yeah, just ask. You got to ask, man. If you don't ask, you'll never figure out what the hell's going on. If you don't have a radio, please grab one. We're going to go over the radios. I want you to physically hold one, check it out, make sure you understand it, and we'll go on through all of that stuff as well. So, little radio 101 here. Here's an overview of what we're going to be looking at. This is hitting some of the bigger subjects here: frequency and modulation, the different modes, system types, coverage, interoperability, equipment, and Q&As at any time, like I said a while ago, guys. Frequency. So this is how your radio communicates. There's no wires on your radio. It's using what we call magic. The frequency is paramount to how you communicate and how you're going to be able to communicate, meaning distance or inside of a building or outside of a building, all of those types of things. So if you look at your radio, your Good Times radio in your truck, and you start turning the knob, you're going to notice your knob's going to stop at 107.9. Okay? You got KJ97 in there somewhere, you know, Magic 105 or whatever. And then 107.9 is the end. If you could magically turn that knob a little bit more, you're going to hit 108. And 108 to 136 is where we find our aircraft stuff. So these guys flying around in the sky are operating here just a little bit above where your Good Times radio is in your truck. Just past that is what we call VHF, a very high frequency, 150 to 174. So this is where you see a lot of your smaller or rural entities or state and federal guys. This is where you're going to see Comal County operating. This is DPS, a lot of your other federal entities like ATF and whatnot. I'm sorry, not ATF, but U.S. Marshals and them. They operate in this 150 to 174 range. And then we get into UHF, that's the 380 to 433, so your guys across the fence over here at Randolph, they're operating there in that 380 to 433. Along with DEA, they're in that as well. And then the San Antonio / Barrett County radio system operates primarily in the 700 to 800 meg range, okay? So why am I telling you this? Well, each one of these frequencies has some different pros and cons. So we're going to look at VHF. VHF, this is from a handheld radio. The maximum output is 6 watts. So what is a watt? A watt is a lot like horsepower, okay? So the more horsepower, the stronger or faster your vehicle is, okay? Or if you're operating a chainsaw, more horsepower, bigger log you can cut. Same thing with the radio. The more wattage coming out of it, the more power that's coming out of that radio. On a mobile radio, the vehicle radio, the maximum wattage is 110 watts. What's really nice about VHF is that it has very long range. So you're pumping out a lot of energy, it travels very far, these are very big, long waves. So one of the first things I'll hear from guys is, I hate this antenna, it pokes me in the ribs, it gets me up underneath the armpit. Why do I have to have such a big antenna? You know, I see other guys with these little short, really cool, stubby antennas. This is why. It's physics. The wave, the physical wave of the frequency flying through the air is big, and it has to correspond to an antenna that properly fits that. If it doesn't, it's going to destroy your radio, okay? So what's the pro to VHF? The pro is that it is long range. It's good for good topographical areas. So if you go out to Comal County, like I mentioned a while ago, you know, the east side of the county is kind of flat, but you start moving out west and you get all the hills and valleys and everything. Well, VHF operates very well out there. It goes up and over those valleys, whereas the 7800 doesn't. The con to it is, inside of a building, it doesn't work well. It bounces off the walls, especially if you have like a metal roof type building, it's not going to do well in there at all. And there's a lot of interference on VHF because it travels so far. So you've got guys in Comal County talking on VHF, they may be bothering someone down in McMullen County because it travels so far. So VHF travels very far, causes a little bit of interference if people are on the same frequency, and that's why, one of the reasons why we don't use it in an urban area, along with the building penetration. So then we jump over to 7800. I mentioned a while ago, this is where our radio system is primarily built, is in the 7800 meg range. You notice the power is 3 watts maximum on a portable radio, and 35 watts maximum on a vehicle radio, a mobile radio. So all of this is regulated by the FCC. And the FCC, there's some bean counter and pencil pusher back there that envisions you talking on the radio like this, okay? And that's why they regulate that power. When we get down here to the bottom and we look at the pro, well, this should be a pro, a little typo there, but good building penetration. When you take your Hot Pocket that you love so much and you throw it in the microwave and you heat it up, you know what's cooking that Hot Pocket? Radio frequency. And that's the way that the FCC sees you using this, is when you hold it right here, you're cooking your Hot Pocket, all right? So they turn that maximum power down, and they don't allow you to transmit at 6 watts because it would go right into your noggin, okay? So they try to limit the radiation exposure by cutting down that power. How do we handle radiation? What are the 3 things that we do to handle, mitigate radiation? Time, distance, and shielding, okay? So time, distance, shielding. You know, your cranium is the shield, the time is you talking on a short bit. Distance, we're doing that with power. The range of 7800 is very short. It's half the wattage, so it's not going to travel as far. It travels pretty much in a straight line, so it doesn't do well in a topography-ridden area. It does also facilitate high-speed data. If we want to push data over the radio, which we are working towards, we're going to have GPS on the radios, then they'll move that very well, easier than VHF will. So now we get into modulation. So modulation is pretty much divided up into these 3 types: analog, digital, and encrypted. Our old system, the old radios that y'all used to carry were analog. It was called EDAX. It was a proprietary radio language that only one vendor, one manufacturer could build. We're now into what's called P25. Any manufacturer, any vendor can sell a radio to work on this system. So we're moving out of analog, we're moving to digital. All your fireground channels, all of that stuff now is all digital. Analog is the least common denominator. Anyone can make an analog radio as well. So all of our interoperability channels are analog. What's an interoperability channel? An interoperability channel is something that is common amongst all users across the public safety spectrum. So, y'all do TIFMAS here? Or EMTF? You don't participate in either one of those? All right, y'all know what TIFMAS is? You know, the fire deal, go to brush fires far away. So we have sent guys as far out as California on TIFMAS deployments. They need to be able to communicate when they get there to California. So we have a bank of interop frequencies in the radio. When they get there, they can communicate with whoever's there. We'll go over that a little bit more here in a bit. Digital, up until the past few years, not everyone was on a P25 standard system. Now we are. P25 is nothing more than a common language. And then we get into encryption. Encryption, there's nothing secret about you deploying an 1 3/4 line. Just not. But there may be something that you do need to pass along that is a little bit sensitive, so we have added an encrypted channel to your radio. You're gonna find it, I believe, in the 14th position. It's called FD Secure. So when you see FD Secure on your screen, you're talking on an encrypted channel back to dispatch, and that's where you can pass something sensitive along, okay? All of our law enforcement is encrypted now. So Converse PD operates off of our East Patrol for the Sheriff's Department. It is encrypted now. Guys with scanners can't hear that stuff. System types. Conventional and trunking are the two big ones. So conventional, this is you talking either line of sight, radio to radio, in what we call simplex. This is a short range. It's typically about 1.5 miles, 2 miles max, where you're just talking line of sight, radio to radio, okay? This comes in handy where you're in an area where you don't have radio coverage. All these radios, typically on day-to-day deployments, it's going to hit a tower and talk to the tower, get amplified, and go out to all the other radios. You're not talking, you know, if I'm standing over here next to Chief and I start talking, he goes, hey, I can't hear you. Man, we're standing right next to each other. How come we can't hear each other? It's because my radio is not talking directly to his radio. My radio is trying to find an antenna or tower miles away, get amplified, and come back to Chief, okay? So I hear guys say that all the time. Hey, I was standing right next to him and couldn't even talk. These radios are pieces of junk. Well, it's trying to talk to a tower, back out to the next guy. So it's making this big jump, unless you're in simplex mode. Repeater, this is that tower I'm talking about. Now, with a repeater, your signal goes up on one frequency, it goes through some machinery, comes back out on the second frequency, and gets amplified for everyone to hear. Simulcast is taking multiple towers or multiple repeaters and spreading them out, and whenever you talk, that signal goes in, gets amplified, and comes out multiple towers, 2 or more towers, all at one time. What's great about that is, you know, here I am carrying this radio on my hip, or I've got, you know, sling like he does. As I turn around, let's say that you're an antenna tower and we're not on a simulcast system. If I'm standing like this, my slim body is creating a buffer between me and that tower, and it's blocking, it creates a shadow, okay? But if Chief is a tower, and he's a tower, and he's a tower, and I've got a tower over here, it doesn't matter which way I turn, I'm getting a signal from one direction or another, okay? So we have built our system to be a simulcast system, where you will get signal from multiple directions. We are also what's called a trunking system. So trunking comes from the phone people like AT&T and whatnot. Whenever you go and you pick up a landline and you call Pizza Hut, you don't have a piece of copper that runs directly from your phone to Pizza Hut, and another piece of copper that runs from your phone to Grandma's house, and another one that goes from your phone over to your house or whatever. It goes through what's called a trunk. It looks for an open path, and that's kind of what we're doing here. We have a group of frequencies, and every time you press that talk button, it's looking for an open frequency. It selects it, everyone's radio jumps onto that frequency, and you hear what you're supposed to. Okay? I will tell you guys, this stuff may be a little bit boring for you. May be like, why do I care? I just want to push the button and talk. There's no other piece of equipment you're going to come on shift every day and use. There's not. Think about it. From the moment you walk into the station, what's the one thing you're doing? Listening for a call, right? So whether you make a call or not, that radio is on, okay? And you need to make sure you know how to use the damn thing. Otherwise, you're going to miss a call. Public's waiting on you. Where are you? You know, or your buddy's inside. Let me tell you, I've done this job for over 30 years. Paramedic, firefighter, police officer, okay? I've been in your boots, done the job, okay? Served on Task Force 1 for almost 20 years, been all over the place. Worked with a bunch of different groups. We get there, one thing's going to happen. We're going to have to communicate one way or the other. Doesn't matter what the discipline is, we have to do it. So this, guys, is the one piece of equipment you're going to use every single shift. When was the last time you had training on comms? Have you ever sat through comms class? Anyone ever told you what all the different buttons do? See a lot of red patches here. You know how to capture a beat? turn and start doing pacing. Saw this guy back here on his phone playing. Can you post a picture of your meal and send it to your girlfriend or wife? Yeah. Can you go to mutual aid 22 for me? How fast can you get to mutual aid 22? Yeah. Is that, am I lying to you guys? All right. So we've got life pack 15s or whatever. We can pace, we can cardiovert, we can do all these fun things. Can't operate the one piece of equipment that we have to use every single shift. It's got to stop, guys. All right, so onwards with my boring stuff. Wide area trucking. So this is where we take a bunch of towers and scatter them over a wide area. They're all connected. So our network is called ours, Alamo Area Regional Radio System. It is not regional. It is only within Bexar County. There's other radio systems around us that border us, like LCRA, that covers multiple counties, or the Gators radio system that Comal County's on. It covers multiple counties, pretty much the whole lower third of the state of Texas. So that's wide area trunking. This is what Gators looks like. You know, when you're talking about wide area trunking, I can stand in Austin and I can call a guy down on the border and say, hey, what do you need down there? Hey, send me an ambulance. Send me an EMS right to you. Okay. Or we've got an EMS right team on the way to you. Oh, hey, I don't need it. Cancel. So that's why we've got wide area trunking. Interoperability. I mentioned earlier how we will send guys downrange, go to different places, and you know, y'all do mutual aid all the time. You go out to Guadalupe County, right? Y'all ever respond out to Guadalupe? No?
Not very often.
St. Edward? You
Not
were-
every now and
Okay. You cross 1604 and you go and play with the Randolph Metro guys, right? So Selma, Schertz, Live Oak, UC, all those guys. You ever play with the military guys? Yeah. They ever come over to you? So that's interoperability. We have done our best to try to solve interoperability by creating a programming template, a personality that goes into the radio that is easy to navigate and easy to understand and is very deep, that allows you to find whoever it is you need to talk to. So interoperability can be common channels that are in every radio across the U.S., or they can be common channels that reside in a small area, kind of like what I'll show you here in a bit with the RM fire channels. These are great resources. We have two documents that we use for interoperability primarily. We've got the NIFOG, the National Interoperability Field Operations Guide, and we have the Texas State Channel Interoperability Plan. Both of those are downloadable documents. The NIFOG is available as an app. You can download it. If you have Android or Apple, either one, you can download it. It's free. It comes from Department of Homeland Security. It's full of useful information. I highly recommend that you download it. So equipment, we'll skip over this because y'all's equipment's a little bit different than what DPS is using. All right, so this is my contact information. This is my personal information. If you have a question, feel free to contact me. I'll answer questions for you, help guide you through something. I'm always available, okay? So hold on to that. So let's take a look at the radios. Y'all know that we gave y'all a bunch of radios a while back ago as loaners, and the reason for that, anyone know? It's because we moved over to a new radio system. I mentioned earlier, we went from an analog system to a digital system. So y'all, if y'all got into those radios and you started looking around and playing, you saw that there was a ton of new fireground channels. Saw a bunch of other, what we call zones in the radio, okay? So I want y'all to understand that better. This radio essentially operates the exact same way as the other radio. So you're carrying one of the old radios right now. The stuff that's in it is almost identical. We did do a couple of updates since you got that radio, but for the most part, the operation is the same, okay? So everyone have a radio? All right, we're gonna start with controls, okay? Looking at the top of the radio, we have our channel knob. It's the tall knob there, okay? And underneath that, we've got an ABCD switch. Everyone on board? Sorry. Someone from a previous class. So, this is how you're going to manipulate your talk groups or channels. Talk group is a synonym for a channel, okay? Next to that, you're going to see your on, off, and volume. And underneath that, you'll see a little circle and a circle with a slash through it. That locks and unlocks your keypad. So, how do I know if my keypad is locked? You will see a golden padlock on your display if your keypad is locked. When your keypad is locked, these buttons don't work, okay? Side of the radio. The top button on the side is used to replay audio, okay? I can push it, do a quick push, and it'll repeat the last thing that it heard, okay? So let's test this out real quick, okay? Go ahead and turn on your radio. Make sure your radio is unlocked. Lieutenant, will you press the number 9 on your keypad?
What channel?
Just press number 9.
No.
Okay? Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So now, I want you to press that black button, just a short press.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, so it replayed the last thing that it heard. This is test number 2. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Now, if he presses that button again, press it, he's going to hear the first message.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You notice it didn't get the second message? He needs to clear that first message out of cache. So he's done with it, he no longer needs it. Press and hold that button, please.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4,
No,
5,
keep
5,
holding
4,
it.
3, 2,
Press
1.
it in and hold it. Okay, so you get this confirmation beep, it is now clear, and now he's ready to record a new conversation.
And now, he's ready to record a new conversation.
Boom. So that's how you operate that button,
But it missed the second message.
because he didn't clear it out. Yeah, it's only
So
one.
if you don't clear it after you hear it and something else comes through,
Yeah.
you miss that, you're just gonna miss
Yeah.
that message.
So it may be something that you do want to hold on to. It may be something you don't want to hold on to. That's up to you. But that's how you operate that button, okay? Underneath that is the largest button on the radio. It is called the PTT.
It's
Sir,
gonna, it's gonna hold that the first thing it heard until you clear it.
so you clear it.
The
Regardless of
first
whether
thing you play back. So if you hear an address come through and you want to lock that, you press that button, you hear the address. It's going to hang on to that address until you clear it out.
Okay.
It won't record anything else after that.
Okay.
You've got to go press, hold, it wipes out that address, and then whatever comes in next, you can play and lock.
Let's do it again here real quick. You still,
But
you still there, Lieutenant?
If we're on a scene and I don't care what's going on until I hear Mayday.
Right.
Am I gonna be able to push that button at that point and replay that Mayday, or is it?
Immediately afterwards. So let me show you.
Okay.
You're going to 123 Main Street for an activated alarm. 123 Main Street, activated alarm. Okay, there's a dispatch, so now there's a message, don't press anything, okay? Beyond location, single story structure, nothing showing, next to any unit stage. Okay? If he presses that button now, it's gonna save that size up. If I jump on again and start talking, now the size up,
It's gone.
it's gone, you're not gonna hear it.
just one.
There's nothing stored in there until you hit that button.
Okay.
Once you hit that button, what's stored there stays there until you
That's
clear
what I
it.
wanted to make sure.
That's it. So you
If
gotta
I
hit
catch
it,
a Mayday,
you gotta
I
hit
can
it
push the
quick.
button and hear it replay the Mayday.
And you gotta push
not-
that button before the
Yeah.
next person talks
Yeah,
also.
because if I
Go
scream,
around by.
Mayday, 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 test, 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 and then, did someone say something?
No.
You're not gonna hear the Mayday, you're gonna hear, hey, did someone say something?
Is that mixture available with the help?
Just a simple.
Because we all wear radio straps and if
So-
it's in our gear, you know what I
I
mean?
hear it. It depends on the lapel mic.
Okay.
So some of the lapel mics did, I'd have to look at it. Some of them did have a button that corresponded with it, not all of them
It's just a Like, it's just a quick press, right? It's not
That's it.
press and hold for a second, it's just a quick press. You
Just quick
tap
press.
into it.
That's it.
Quick press to save, long press to clear.
Got it.
Yep. Okay, so moving on. Next button is what we call the PTT, or push to talk. You press it, you talk, you let up, you hear. It's that simple, okay? Underneath that button, we've got a display button, okay? This gets tricky, very tricky. When you press that button, wait 10 seconds, and that is what that function is going to be for it. What it is doing is it's scrolling through the different possibilities of a display for your radio. And that is, the backlight is bright all the time, the backlight is bright and then goes dim, the backlight is off. So it will scroll through these, but you have to press that button and wait 10 seconds to see what it's going to do, okay? If you like it, leave it. If you don't, hit it, wait 10 seconds and see if that's the function that you want. Underneath that button, the bottom button on the side of the radio is a button that we use to look and see what kind of problems there are with your radio. So if you call me up and say, hey, I can't talk, I may ask you to press that button and it'll give me signal information and let me know what tower you're on and what your signal level is. Chances are you'll never use that button, okay? All right, moving around to the front of the radio. Let me go back up top. I did miss a button up top. We've got this orange button up top. That's our dispatcher appreciation button. Whenever you think that she's doing a really good job, you press it a bunch of times. No. So this is your emergency. Whenever you press the emergency, short press, it's going to activate emergency on your radio. Other people around you are going to see RX emergency on their radio. They are receiving an emergency from someone else's radio. It's going to set off a bunch of alarms over at dispatch. It is also going to open up the mic on your radio for a short period of time, and everything that you say is going to come across that mic. So if you hit that orange button and it's an accident, you go, oh shit, everyone in the world just heard you, and it's recorded, okay? So keep in mind, whatever comes out of your mouth after you press the orange button is going across the radio system live and is being recorded. That's a good thing, it's a bad thing, you know? If you're kind of trapped, you had a roof come in on you, and you just enough, movement to get that orange button, you can say, hey, I'm interior, Bravo Charlie corner, got a log or roofing sitting on top of me. And you can get that out real quick while that mic's open, and you're not pressing the talk button, okay? Or you're out with a hostile patient, you go hands-on with them. You hit that button, hey, put the gun down, man, it's cool, relax, blah, blah, blah. All of that's going to be heard, instead of you sitting there pressing the talk button, okay?
How long is that period of time, you know?
I think we've got them set to 5 seconds.
Just 5 seconds?
Yeah. You get a lot of info out in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanna know. How do you reset that, or do you have to reset?
You don't, dispatcher does.
Okay.
Dispatcher will reset y'all's emergencies, okay, not y'all. They'll try to turn it off and back on, they'll take the battery off, let dispatch clear the emergency for you, okay? All right, let's move to the front. Front of the radio. Speaker up top, display. On the display, at the bottom, you will see 3 what we call soft keys. It should say zone up, scan, zone down. Everyone see that? Underneath it, you will have 3 buttons, a 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot. That corresponds with the little thing right above it. So if you press the 1 dot, you're doing zone up. You press the 3 dot, you're doing zone down. So what the hell is a zone? The display, top line, is what we refer to as a zone. So right now, mine says IOP VHF, okay? That means interrupt VHF. Everything below the top line is what we call a channel or a talk group. And it is going to correspond with whatever is above it. So everything on the bottom line is going to be related, in my case right now, to VHF interoperability. You will find VFire on here, VMed, VLaw. Where can I find what the hell VLaw is used for? Yeah, or the NIFOG. How many of y'all have downloaded the NIFOG? Okay. Please download the NIFOG. You're going to need it, you're going to use it, I can promise you, okay? There's tons of info in there. All right, zones are in alphabetical order. We had to make this easy enough for a police officer to use, okay? So, your zones So you can navigate through the radio, alphabetical order. Lieutenant, will you grab your radio and press the 1 dot? What's the next thing you see?
Judson.
Okay. What do you think you're gonna find underneath Judson? All of the Judson stuff. So Judson ISD, y'all's home school district here, recently came onto the radio system. All of their new talk groups are in this radio, okay? If you end up doing something with Judson and you need to talk directly to them in an emergency, you're going to find all of their schools here in alphabetical order. So as you start turning the knob, you're gonna see those schools. I believe they're listed, these may not be in alphabetical order. Judson had kind of a weird way of how they want to program it. But they've got all their elementaries, middle schools, and then high schools in the radio. You're gonna say, well, there's more than 16 schools in Judson ISD. How do I get to them? That's where that A, B, C, D switch comes in. So your channels in your radio, or talk groups in your radio, the maximum that you will have in a zone are 64 channels. Your rotary knob goes 16 positions. So, Mr. Rolfe,
Yes.
you were talking about math earlier.
Mhm.
What's 16 times 4? A, B, C, D. 64. There you go. So you got your first 16, flip it to D, second 16, flip it to D, your next 16. So you need to think of them as a column with 16, 32, 48, 64. Okay? Sorry, drying out here. Press the 1 dot again, Lieutenant. This is going to be your guys with tractors. Local government, that's the easiest way to describe it. Okay? Zone up again, Metro. Inside Bear County, we have a number of small municipalities. Converse, Kirby, all of them. If they are not dispatched by Bear County, you're going to find them in the Metro section. They are in alphabetical order, so they'll start off with Alamo Heights, go off into Balcones, Castle Hills, all of those guys. So it is all alphabetical order, easy to navigate, all right? Zone up again. The next one you're going to see is mutual aid 1 through 60. So on the old radio system, we had 60 mutual aid channels. Today we have 75. So we only have a max of 64 channels, right? So we had to create a second zone, and you will find mutual aid 61 through 75. Zone up again. You're going to see a zone called Rand Met. So let's take a time out here real quick, because this is where things start getting important, okay? Well, it's all important. Everyone find Rand Met on your zones. If you're not on Rand Met, raise your hand. Anyone not there? Everyone there? You're there? Everyone's there. Okay. These are interoperability channels in Randolph Metro. So this is something that everyone in the Randolph Metro area, Some Assurance, Live Oak, UC, they have in their radios for interoperability. Zone up one more time and you will see RM Fire, Randolph Metro Fire. These are all of the fire channels that they have recently switched over to. Their new layout. Starts off with Tri-Alarm, and then you see Live Oak Fire and Soma Fire and all that stuff in there. And then you'll see Shirts EMS, you see the RM tax, all of that fun stuff there. So get in there, start learning it, and figuring out where this stuff is. Because I can assure you, you're going to be called for mutual aid to a Randolph Metro department sometime soon. Yep. Zone up again, you'll see SA Fire. That's all the San Antonio Fire stuff. Zone up again, Sheriff. That's where you find your law enforcement. Your law enforcement works off of East Patrol. Yes, sir?
Does it matter if it says invalid unit?
It does.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm on
So-
RM Fire still and it says invalid unit.
All right. Good question. Glad you hollered. We need to activate that radio on the LCRA network. So we've got our radio system here. Our radio system, just to give you a heads up, consists of 28 towers. Our old radio system, it was built with 12 towers. So our coverage has dramatically improved. 28 versus 12, Our indoor coverage is much better. Our peripheral coverage on the edge of the county is much better. I don't know that y'all ever had a whole lot of problems here. Did y'all on the old
We had
system?
on the 700 side, we had very limited coverage, but on the 800 side, we were okay.
All right, so you should see quite an improvement. But, yeah, if you see invalid user on your radio, we need to call and activate that over at LCRA. We'll get that done for you, okay? So everyone should be at sheriff's zone now. This is where your law enforcement is, our law enforcement, share channels. It is encrypted. So if you look at the top of the screen, everyone see a little key at the top of the screen? That means that that channel is encrypted. Guys with scanners aren't going to hear you. Zone up again, you will see venue. Sir?
One quick question on that, Sheriff, in case these guys need to talk to RPD.
Yeah.
We are not notified what channel they're operating. How?
They always operate on East Patrol.
I know, but on East Patrol, if they go to a sub-channel or something,
You would have to,
would dispatch be able to give us that?
you would have to coordinate. What I would do is I would coordinate through your fire dispatch as opposed to switching over to the sheriff's dispatch. So lost child. There's a really good one, okay? So you get a lost child, it's somewhere, out here in the sticks, and you're there, and the Congress PD's there, or SO there, whatever, and you need to communicate with them. Call back to dispatch on access, say, hey, we're out on this missing kid, blah, blah, blah. What channel can we go to communicate with PD or SO? She'll tell you, they're working off TAC 1, if SO TAC 1 is on the sheriff's zone, or you can actually, from the fire zone, and we'll come back to this, you can find it there too. Or, they may be on a mutual aid channel, or whatever the case, okay? So coordinate that through dispatch. Venue, go
I
ahead.
just want to cover one other thing right quick. We have the Randolph Metro Fire System in these radios. If you go to that system, Bear County Dispatch does not follow you.
Okay.
You are on their system now. Bear County is no longer monitoring you. My preference is that we can, even though we have this option now, that we continue to patch. That way we have Bear County Dispatch still monitoring and following us onto that scene
Versus their dispatch.
versus just their dispatch. I can tell you, we've had instances in the past, before we were on Bear County, when we had our own dispatch center, where things were missed, very important things were missed. And having another dispatcher following you, monitoring you, gives you another set of ears to cover your ass. We had a Mayday miss. Fortunately, it wasn't a big deal. However, Bear County was actually monitoring and caught the Mayday and notified the incident commander of the Mayday that nobody else heard. So my preference is always going to be that we stay on Bear County with our dispatchers and get it patched. This is a means to go around that. I don't want us going around that unless we absolutely have to.
So let me try to help you out there, Chief. Our radio system on our console is our radio system. There are 6 channels that are connected up to LCRA that they can patch over to. So in an example of a house fire, okay, you're responding to a structure over in UC, and they decide that they want that on Randolph Metro TAC 4. Our dispatch does not have Randolph Metro TAC 4 on their console, okay? In order to facilitate that, UC is going to have to patch Randolph Metro TAC 4 to one of the 6 channels that we have, so that would probably be Bear Fire, and then Bear Fire gets patched over to Fireground 3 or whatever, okay? So just to let you know, it's doable, it just takes a bunch of links in the chain to make it happen, okay?
But you get the advantage of having the dispatcher follow you and able to monitor your communications.
I'll let you work that out with Megan. There's no guarantee that you're gonna have a dispatcher monitoring a Fireground channel, even day to day.
No, but there's a better possibility than the other way. There's no possibility other than their dispatch the other way. This way, at least we have a possibility, and I'll say it, Megan and her dispatchers have been really good about following us. Or about monitoring when we go out on a mutual aid call. If it's catched, they have been really good, and I know there's no guarantee, but they have been really good about following and looking out for you guys and just doing everything they can to make sure you're safe.
Yeah, they're sharp. All right, venue. So we have some venues inside of Bear County that are our responsibility. We have the Freeman Coliseum, the AT&T Center, which is now the Frost Bank Center. Damn it, I just realized we're gonna have to change the name of it. And then we have the Toyota Field. Each one of those has an inside channel and then a traffic channel. So chances are y'all probably won't ever use these, but just past the venue channels, we've got a few channels in there called event channels. So I know y'all do a local festival here each year, and let's say that you need a channel to work that event, on. You can call dispatch and say, hey, can we have an event channel for today, you know? And there's event 1 through 5 in there that can be assigned to you, and you can utilize event 1 through 5, okay?
They've been giving us, mutual aid 42, I think.
Okay.
We just did our night conference, but I think we're on mutual
There
aid
you go.
42, so.
All right, zone up. The next thing that you should see is weather. There are 7 weather channels. These are geographically placed transmitters depending on where you are. So as you turn that knob 1 through 7, one of them is going to come in and you will be able to listen to the weather. So if you just want to get a quick update of the weather, that's where you're going to find it. Zone up again, you'll see Wilson. So this is the guys out here to the east, Wilson County. I don't know that you ever go out there, but if you do, we've got Wilson County in there. Zone up again, you'll see ACOG Fire. These are some of the surrounding counties. There's 13 counties in the COG. 12 outside of Bear County, you know, Bandera, Medina, Frio, all of those guys. Their fire channels are in here in alphabetical order. Zone up again, you'll see ACOG SO. That's the sheriff's channel. Zone up again, you'll see COSA SOW. So SOW is short for Sight on Wheels. The city and the county both purchased a mobile trailer that allows us to go out and set up a communication site. And this is good whenever a tower goes down, there's no communication there. Or if we need to go somewhere foreign, like we responded to Uvalde when Uvalde went down. If we want to be able to talk from Uvalde back to San Antonio, we can do that now with this trailer, okay? We can create a wide area spot to be able to communicate. So San Antonio, on their trailer, they only allow certain channels to work on that trailer, COSA SOW. We do it differently, we allow any channel to work on our trailer. Zone up again, you will see education. Y'all have any other school districts besides Judson? Okay. If you were responding to a Northeast school or a North Side school or SAISD school, all of the school districts are in here in order. Zone up again, it'll put you on Fire East. So we divided the county up into Fire East and Fire West. It's pretty much divided by I-10 or really Blanco Road. Blanco Road coming in and then 281 on the south side, y'all are east. Y'all probably figured that out by now. All of your fireground channels are going to be in here, as well as if you take that little ABCD and you flip it all the way down to D, you will find the law enforcement channels in there. You'll see the sheriff channels in there, okay? Please, 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 please go through here and look at what all is available to you, okay? We have fire grounds. The city, San Antonio, has fire tax. There's a difference there. The reason why we have fire grounds is so that we don't get confused with fire tax. If we work a mutual aid with the city and they say, we're on TAC 10, that's not fire ground 10, it's TAC 10. It's the reason why we have 2 different names there. All right, let's jump over to interoperability here real quick, okay? On your radio, you will find 2 channels that we put into every radio on the radio system. If you take the knob and you turn it all the way to the 16th position, you should see a channel called Common. Does everyone see Common? Anyone everyone not see coming.
And that's across every bank, right?
Yeah.
I see here, but I don't think it's on the interop channels.
It's not on the interop channels.
If you
but
go
it's-
mutual aid on interop, it's not going to be there.
Yeah, so your interrupt VHF 700,
Okay.
it's out there. But if you're on the mutual aid channels, if you're on the fire channels, if you're on the sheriff's channels, education channels, whatever, you turn it all the way to 16, you're gonna be on common. Common is on every single radio on the radio system, whether you're a dog catcher, a street sweeper, a fire guy, a gun toter, everyone has it in their radio. So if you respond to, let's say a hazmat event, hazmat's a good one, you're gonna get a lot of people at, go over here to 1604 and I-10, y'all may get the call for it, city may get the call for it, St. Hedwig may get the call for it. So everyone shows up out there, and you need to talk real quick, down and dirty, and everyone needs to communicate. Common is the answer. Everyone has it. You don't have to go hunting for it. You just turn the knob till it stops and you're on common. You holler at everyone and say, hey, we need to switch to common because we've got, you know, bad stuff leaking out of the truck and you're in the downwind plume. Move, okay? This dispatch monitors common 24/7. It's probably a SO dispatcher, but someone's monitoring it, okay, 24/7. All right, so now we got a second channel. We call it ATAC 95D. ATAC 95D is an 800 meg interoperability channel. The D at the end stands for direct. This means that you're talking in simplex mode. What is simplex mode? Radio to radio, line of sight. So if you go somewhere and the radio system is not working, or you go to a school or a big building, a hospital or something, and your radio can't get out, you can go to ATAC 95D and communicate from the inside to the outside, more than likely, but it has to be coordinated, okay? So if you take your radio and turn it all the way to 16 and back up one spot, you're gonna see ATAC 95D. Should be in the 15th position. So, y'all got Methodist or whatever, is it still Methodist down there, Top Line and 35?
No, it's a radiology clinic now.
Okay.
Or no, Northeast Methodist, yeah.
Northeast Methodist, yeah.
That's in Live Oak.
Okay, but
Yeah.
it's, you're going if they're burning, right? All right, so if you get over there and you need to communicate, it's in the radio, and there's a good chance that even though that building sits very close to a tower site, it's so thick and full of lead and other crap, you may not be able to make it out. These buildings should have what's called a BDA inside, a bidirectional amplifier, to boost the radio signal, but those things break.
State the one W3 response for a seizure. 94 radar cross reader brigadier passing appropriate on.
You said it required coordination, what kind of coordination does that
State
require?
station one.
The guy outside needs to know that you're
Everybody
gonna
goes to that
Response
channel,
for
so.
a seizure.
Yeah.
34-year-old male.
We employed for Harvey as a means to
At
communicate
9846
amongst
Rhode
the
Island
strike
Street,
team.
cross
Because
reader
once we
passing
hit the road and got out of Bear County,
1
we were
10-21.
done. Actually, we were done before that because we were on the LCRA system at the time, and everybody else was on Bear County.
What's the
Yeah, so
range?
that's a great example.
What's the range on it?
It's gonna be about 1.5 to 2 miles. Okay? It's not gonna be far, and if you're sitting inside of a tin can,
No.
it's gonna even be shorter. So, you know, when everyone's convoying, don't expect it to talk 2 miles. Yes, sir?
You mentioned getting out of a large building would be difficult. What about like the individual floors within the building? For
So-
example, we go to the Arc all the time.
Yeah.
We'll have to go up and then they've got people on the first floor. If we can't get out of the building, will it go down?
You know what fire guys are really good at? Pre-planning.
Yeah.
Get over there and test it. See what you're gonna get out of it. Radio signal travels 360 degrees in all directions. So it's going to go through some of the floors and, up and down and in between and whatnot. But go test it. See what you're actually dealing with, It's,
I haven't been there in a long time, but I don't think we've got any communication problems.
Some of our old radios, we'd have up top and you couldn't get out or you couldn't hear.
no. So I would try it.
But they may need to add a signal booster. If they don't have one in the building,
So we talked about zones, we talked about channels, we talked about, these common channels that we all have. Now, let's get to the fun part. We talked about those first 3 buttons right underneath the display. Let's talk about the rest of the keypad. I will tell you, a lot of people get intimidated and go, look, I don't understand all these buttons. Why do I have all these buttons? I just want to push the button on the side and talk. Well, guys, you gotta talk on the right channel. So, we've got a 4-way push button keypad there in the middle. That allows you to go through some different menus and stuff. Underneath it, you'll see a keypad just like on your telephone. These are shortcuts. These will get you back to where you need to be real fast and easy. So, a common question is, do you have a channel layout of the radio? I do my best not to give you a channel layout. I don't want to give you a channel layout. Why don't I do it? Because you're going to lose it. I'm going to give you a piece of paper, or a patrolman a piece of paper. It's going to go in his gear bag. It's going to get wadded up. It's going to get torn. It's going to get lost. And when game day hits, no one's going to know where that channel is. So you got to practice with your equipment. Go through your equipment, see if you can find it, and you need to train until you can't get it wrong, not until you get it right. And that's where we have screwed up for decades. Because if we train and we get it right, we're like, all right, let's move on to the next evolution. No, let's keep doing it until we can't screw it up. Okay, that's the mindset we need to be in. That's inclusive of this radio. So explore your channels. But now I get lost. All right, press number 1. So take you over to Fire East, Access East. Why does it take me to Access East?
Because it's monitor channel.
Because that's the inbound channel for dispatch. We've got dispatch channel, that's exactly what it is. It's outbound, from them to you. Access is so that you can access the dispatcher. You're gaining access to someone else to talk to.
So then to get back to dispatch from there, you just gotta quick,
Just turn it back to position 1.
well, so if all
If
we're
it's
in
on
position
position
one,
1, just turn it to 2 and turn it back to
turn it back.
Yeah, so pushing the button does not turn the channel around.
Gotcha.
Okay, all right, so then we've got 2, 3, 4, and 6 that are not programmed, okay? So Chief was asking, hey, I want to have X channel, programmed on my radio as a shortcut, all right? So you like listening to KJ97, right? You take your knob, you turn the knob until it gets to 97.3, and you like it in position number 1, and you hold down the button and it goes beep, and now that becomes KJ97 on your Good Times radio. This is the exact same thing. So you go and you find one of the Randolph Metro channels or whatever it is that you want on your number 2 button, tune it to it, find it in your radio, put it on there, hold down the number 2, and then you're going to get a confirmation, and it'll say channel saved or something like that. Hit the white button, and you're done.
So if we go to the Randolph Metro Fire,
Whatever.
the first channel, and we hit 3, that's, anytime we hit 3, it's gonna take us to that channel.
Yep.
That was what I wanted for you guys to do, and I noticed it wasn't programmed in here, was if y'all wanted a quick button to the Randolph Metro channels.
Yeah.
So,
So now we can do it on the fly.
It could change the date.
Yeah, but that's the
No,
thing.
I don't want it to change the
Well,
date.
that's what I was
That's
trying
why
to say, anybody can program.
Because you can
Say if I
program
want
it all
it
the time.
today, and then someone else doesn't want the Randolph, they can program another.
there's a really cool document, it's called the SOP, and,
Those are very-
has
So that
it comes
we
with a
can
hammer.
program it and say,
Yeah.
Other options.
Yeah, because if not,
Policy,
people
not-
just.
yeah, people are gonna change it.
Or we just don't, we don't have this, we don't have this, we take that out the tape.
That,
Don't teach them how to do it until they figure it out on their own.
yeah.
All right, so now let's go to number 5. Press number 5, and you will see Mutual Aid 21. Mutual Aid 21 is the law enforcement response channel to active shooters. If we have an active shooter event, 21 is the law enforcement channel. There is a plan in place, and has been for like 14 years or something like that, that talks about Mutual Aid 20 through 25 or something like that being utilized for an active shooter event. One of them is for fire, one is for staging, one is for law enforcement, but that one takes you to the law enforcement channel, okay? 6 is not programmed, that's one that you can edit. 7 is, so if you press number 7, it's gonna take you to 700 interop. Press number 8, it's gonna take you to 800 interop. Press number 9, it's gonna take you to VHF interop. Now you need to get back home so that you can talk to Megan and the girls, press number 1, and boom, you're back. So you cannot get lost in this radio. It won't allow you to get lost. Just press 1 and it'll always take you back home. Still have a couple of cool buttons down there. We've got the asterisk button. You're really not going to use that so much. That's to turn encryption on and off. We've got encryption hard set on the channels it needs to be hard set on, so don't worry about that. And then we've got a pound sign, hashtag for the youngsters. If you press the pound sign, it's going to take your top display on the very top of the radio and flip it up the opposite direction. So depending on how you like to carry your radio, you can orientate that display to fit the way you want.
Cool.
Okay? All right. So we've hit the controls, we've hit the channels, we've talked about how the system is built. Yes, sir?
Did you touch on scan at all?
I did not touch on scan.
Talk a little bit about that.
Talk all day long about scan. So scan is a little bit cumbersome, but it is doable. The radio is programmed up to allow you to scan anything in the radio.
Okay.
Anything in the radio, okay? So,
You hit scan, you'll come back to Bear County Fraud on back tomorrow.
that four-way button right in the middle, you'll see a white dot. Press that white dot. It'll bring up a menu, and you're gonna press the right key. The next menu you see is all scan-related stuff.
Okay.
When you get to that list, or when you get to that menu, scroll down till you see assign custom list, and it says user scan, right? Press the white button, and you'll see user scan highlighted. In the middle, you will see your scan button now says view edit. Press that view edit button, and now you can edit that scan list.
So you can add.
You can add and delete. So the top will say user scan. You will see it in the bottom corner, options. Hit that options button and you see edit scan list. And now it should say something to the effect of like 800 IOP up top, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you scroll left and right, you will see different channels pop up and you can highlight those.
Banks, and then you can go through all of them.
Yeah.
You can choose which one that you want to scan,
That's it.
but then you'll scan them all the time.
Whenever you turn on the scan, whenever you hit
Scan button.
the scan button, that one, the white button, an arrow to the right until you find sheriff.
Sheriff's East.
So the top red line should say sheriff.
Yep.
Want to scan east or east open?
There it is. All right. So there's sheriff. Now, I can use my up and down to find the channel.
Yep.
So east is the main dispatch channel for your guys. Hit the white button, and now east should be white. Went from like a light gray to a white,
Yep.
right? Now hit back, and back, and back, and back. Now hit the 2-dot button, and you are scanning fire east and sheriff.
Okay.
Which is RPD.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that middle button only turns scan on and off.
Right.
That 2-dot button.
Yeah.
Correct.
I was
Yeah, so
asking.
you'll see a big S on the right side of the display when it is scanning. You press that button again and that S disappears.
Gotcha, okay. I was more asking, is there any way where I could, if I wanted to scroll to any random channel and hold that scan button down, that it'll add that to that list?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay,
That would be too easy.
yeah, okay, so that's what makes it go.
Yep.
Perfect, okay, cool.
Someone say something?
They say that.
So,
Okay.
do you think of anything of this?